Hey, what's going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I'm going to be watching and reacting to TheSmithPlays The Fall of Zombies video. Now, the reason why I decided to record a reaction to it and sort of a rebuttal, I guess, is because I've had many people telling me, specifically, some of my friends, some of my online friends, some of my YouTube friends, telling me that a lot of what was said in this video I'd probably disagree with, and also is either over exaggerated or misinformed about the community and just all sorts of things. And I love TheSmithPlays. Pat, well, I call him Pat because it's his actual name. I love his videos. I used to love watching him all the time, even his Fortnite videos, which, like, I'm not really a big fan of Fortnite anymore, but when I was, I still liked watching them. He's a good guy. He's got a good channel, but I think his opinions on zombies as of recently I have pretty severely disagreed with. And that's fine. We're allowed to disagree, but still be respectable to one another. So I ask you, don't go to TheSmithPlays channel and start throwing hate at him. Instead, kind of just try to open up some, positive discussion. Be like, yo, I disagree with you, and here's why. But be nice about it. You don't have to be a dick to be, to have an argument. I think people need to understand that arguments can be nice. They can be civil. And I'm going to watch this, if I agree with things, I'll say that. If I don't, I'll say that as well. The full video will be in the description below. I'm not going to be playing the full video for you guys because that would just be weird. So I'm going to stop a lot as well. I'm not going to show you guys the entirety of it. If there's certain portions of it that just aren't interesting and I don't have a reaction to, I'm not going to say anything about it. So let's get into it now.
Call of Duty Zombies. That may be something you haven't heard much of in the last few years, but I'm sure our gaming experience.
Yeah, I've been playing since World at War, so.
To try and think back to the very first time you played Zombies.
World at War. In my house, in my basement. Knocked through.
I want to talk about when the game started going wrong, what caused the game's decline.
Started going wrong, caused the game's decline.
I think the final nail in the coffin, Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4
I disagree. We'll see. I don't even think zombies fell. What killed off zombies? I'm gonna just say this right off the bat. I don't think zombies ever was killed. I don't think it was ever dead. There's been times where it's been lower and times where it's been higher, but what I compare it to is something like the MCU, right? Black Ops 3 is like the equivalent to like Avengers Endgame and then like Avengers Infinity War. Like that's the peak of the MCU. Everything after that is gonna be smaller in comparison. Maybe eventually we'll get something bigger than Avengers Endgame. I'm sure that can happen eventually. But for now, especially this year's MCU movies, they seem kind of plain. But that doesn't mean they're shit. That doesn't mean they're ass. That doesn't mean the MCU's dying. There's just some low points and then there's some high points. You can't expect every game to be better than the last one. In your opinion, objectively, they should get better in terms of graphics. They should get better in terms of just understanding of what to do. But in terms of story and what you're interested in and what maps you're interested in, you can't expect it to always get better and better and better. You have to realize that. And even if it's not as good as the last one, you still need to find a way to adapt and still possibly enjoy it. You don't have to enjoy it, but you need to at least try, is what I'm trying to say. That's the thing about Black Ops 4. I don't like it more than Black Ops 3, but I definitely can see, where Black Ops 4... I understand the bad things about Black Ops 4, right? But I also see a lot of good things about it, and I'm able to differentiate the two games and be like, okay, Black Ops 3 is better, but Black Ops 4 is also hella fun. We got game modes in that we never see on Black Ops 3. We got way better level up system. The Easter eggs, to me, are a little bit more well-rounded. I like how they keep track of each of your completions. And there's some little quality of life things that I like a lot more in Black Ops 4 than I do in 3. But then there's vice versa. Black Ops 3's got a lot of things I like more than Black Ops 4. It all comes down to personal preference. But when I'm thinking of it objectively, I can't just say a game's shit just because my interest in it has lowered. I mean, that's kind of what this situation here is. TheSmithPlays, his interest got lower, and he's hating on it. And he's pretty right that the community has been hating on it. That is true. But that's not... I don't know if we should blame the game 100%. Maybe it's just how we perceive things. How the brain works. How we like those old memories that we have. We want to relive them, but you can't relive old memories. That's just not possible. You should try to make new ones. So, let's continue. It's a well-done video. I just disagree with a lot of what he's saying.
Now, many of you may not know this is a super overlooked fact as to why the game mode became so successful in the first place. Zombies started as a side passion project on the engine of a much bigger game. There was no pressure from a group of suits sitting in a boardroom asking what will be the most profitable way to boost map pack sales or anything like that. No, it all just simply started for fun. It was a side project that was allowed to blossom organically. And remember that, because that is a key detail that will help highlight exactly where it was that Zombies went wrong. But now...
Okay, I gotta refute that because I disagree with that completely. So he's saying that Zombies was all built on passion and there was no, thought about money and business decisions behind it. It was just, no, it's passion. We're passionate about this. We're gonna make it. Awesome. That's it. That's all that went into it. And he's acting like nowadays it's the complete opposite, and instead there's no passion into it, and it's just all about business and what would make more sales. You gotta balance the two. There isn't one that overarches the other. If it was all about sales and no passion involved, they would not have done the Chaos story in Black Ops 4. They would not have touched the Chaos story. You know what they would have done? They would have done more Ether maps. They would have done other two more maps that all surrounded upon the Ether story. Now, if it was 100% just about passion and not about money at all, would they have just forgotten about Ether completely and just did Chaos? I still don't think so. I still think that they would have done Ether because of the fact that they clearly wanted to finish the story in a different way than what Revelations ended it in. You know what I mean? They wanted to do more than one. They wanted to do a new story as well as continuing the old one. They didn't want to choose between them, which, looking back on it, should they have chose one and just, brought the other one in later? Maybe finished Ether in this game and then did Chaos later? Probably, but you can't act like the game is, they're not passionate about it anymore and that they're just doing it for money when they clearly do things that would not seem to be the best for money-wise. Like doing a whole Chaos story, is that really something that people want? I don't know. People wanted more Ether. People were mad about it. And then, of course, they change business decisions as time goes on to cater to the majority, because obviously the majority is what's going to bring them more revenue. And you can't tell me that Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, that those older games, they didn't care about business. Of course they did. They thought of it. They had it in their mind. Why do you think they kept doing Zombies? Because they knew it boosts so much more sales when they had zombie map packs. That's why they started doing Zombies with the other developers. It's just obvious. I mean, flop, I don't know, I would say gigantic flop. People definitely liked it. I didn't really like it that much, but...
And that's coming from someone who liked it. It is a really, really cool game mode, like I said. It's very
Alright, yeah, you liked it at first. Let's be real here. You did not touch it after that.
It had uninteresting characters, and despite me playing
I agree with that, but
100 hours,
it just wasn't for me. I don't know if it was garbage.
What happened. And on top of
Well,
that,
you
the
didn't
gameplay was mediocre.
care, clearly.
But lastly, and I think this is important to note, is the community was just a little exhausted from that last year of Zombies. This new game mode was just unable to spark and take flame like those original maps did in World at War.
So there comes the argument again of exhaustion, and I never understood this. It's like, it's a video game. We're exhausted from playing video games? Like, it's a term burnt out they use as well. Like, yeah, when you play a lot of something, you kind of want to take your time and not continue to play it, but that's all up to you. That's not up to what they give you. They can give us one map, and you could still burn yourself out on a game. You know what I mean? Or they can give us 100 maps, and you may not burn yourself out because you may not play all 100 maps, or you may only play those maps once, so you're not burning yourself out. It all has to do with what you do. That's not their fault that you decide to play hours upon hours of Black Ops 2 to the point where you don't want to play Zombies anymore and you just want something completely new. But I don't know why he's bringing up Burnt Out and Exhaustion on Extinction, because Extinction was completely different than Zombies. It was nothing like Zombies. Absolutely no connection. It was completely different gameplay, completely different mechanics. Everything was different, but Exhaustion is all on the player. It's not on what the consumer gives you, I guess you could say it's different when it comes to something like the MCU, because if you're a fan of the MCU, you're going to want to see every MCU film. So you might, be like, but even just 3 MCU movies a year, is that really that much? Like 5 to 8 Zombies maps a year, if you're going to play each and every one of them and do a lot with them, it's not that crazy. I mean, you know what I mean? It's really not. I don't think it is, at least. I'm never burnt out on Zombies, But this was Extinction, so I don't
after the pretty big failure
see how
of
it makes any sense.
Advanced Warfare dropped EXO Zombies. Now, I'm sure that there
EXO
are
Zombies,
some people out there who liked EXO Zombies.
I didn't hate
gotta
it,
say it
but I didn't
again,
like it.
compared to any Zombies map previously, EXO's also flopped. The game had uninteresting characters, and the storyline
Again,
was completely forced down our throats.
Again, the word was it forced down our throats? I don't know. The word flopped is really hard to just throw around like that because you got to realize: is he referring to revenue wise, or is he referring to community engagement, or is he referring to personal preferences? Because there's tons of people who might have loved it. I'm sure there is, but if he's just talking about hype and like overall community engagement, then flop. I mean, yeah, I guess you can count it. Most people weren't really excited for it in the first place. For something to be a flop, it has to be exciting and be like, oh my god, this is gonna be the best thing ever. No one said that about EXO Zombies. They were all like, yeah, this looks kind of meh. So I don't.
The gameplay felt like a
Don't know if I
cookie-cutter
consider.
version of what Treyarch was doing, and it didn't even
Yeah,
feature
it
a
did.
Zombies map on disc.
But I didn't really
Compare these two
mind the
game
fact that it
modes
was like
to
Treyarch. I
World
kind of
War,
wanted
which
it to be
allowed
like
the
Treyarch.
storyline to build itself in an organic and natural way. With these other two clones, though, it felt like they had just taken the Zombies format that had now found success and were now trying to mass produce it.
Other two clones. Extinction was not a clone. I don't know why he keeps acting like Extinction was like a copy of Zombies. Extinction was completely different. Yeah, I can see EXO Zombies being a clone, but they still did their own thing regardless. It wasn't like they completely just copied the entirety of what Treyarch was doing. They still made their own story. They made their own map locations. They made their own weapons. They made their own idea of what they wanted the mode to be like. Yeah, the gameplay was the same, but that's because that's just what people are used to. They don't want to change it up too much because when you change up the gameplay, people get furious. Cough, cough, Black Ops 4. That people get furious when you change up gameplay, so they didn't want to change it with it too much or mess around with it, and they didn't. And it ended up turning into something that a lot of people didn't like that much, but not because of that. It was more because of the fact that it just wasn't as enjoyable as Treyarch was for most people, not everyone.
And this highlights so clearly how Activision missed the point of what Zombies was. It wasn't something that could be rushed or forced, and the storyline that they had
that goes for
was
anything,
something
though. You don't want to rush or
extremely
force
delicate
anything.
and special. So after 2 years of what was basically the hardcore fans tolerating these new maps and the casuals not even really knowing what was going on,
I mean, I was playing them and I was having a good time. I mean, I was still looking more forward to Black Ops 3 to play Treyarch, but like I wasn't just saying, oh, these are complete trash. I gotta fly in here. Get, shoot, bitch ass. Like I wasn't just completely forgetting about the existence of the maps or tolerating them. I was kind of just playing them and just enjoying it for what it was. I think that's just what people need to do. I wasn't trying to compare it to Treyarch. I was trying to see it as its own thing,
Black
sort
Ops
of a
3 was
deal.
finally back to the plate, and Black Ops 3 Zombies struck its
Fourth home run.
With the
I mean,
power
yeah,
of the new
it was
console,
pretty
this
freaking
only
good.
further extend for the 5th year in a row, hardly a month after the end of Revelations, a new Zombies map dropped. You starting to see a problem here?
But why is that a problem, though? Like, what's wrong with Zombies 5th time? Was it the 5th year in a row? No. Again, he's counting Extinction as Zombies. Extinction was not Zombies. We had Black Ops 2 when we had a skip year. Then we had EXO Black Ops 4, or Black Ops 3. And then Infinite Warfare, this was the 3rd year. Not the 5th. But still, I still don't see the problem. Even if Ghosts did have zombies, I mean, like, it's different every year. It's not like they're giving us the same thing. It's the same gameplay, but so is multiplayer, right? Doesn't multiplayer have same sort of game modes? Obviously, they change around. The general idea of the game modes are the same for multiplayer each year. We get a new one of those. No one really complains. So what's wrong with having zombies every year? It's actually better in my eyes because not only are we getting more content, so there's not that whole year where the community is just dead, and those years that's probably gonna be like this year. Which at the same time, no, probably not actually, because we have COD Mobile Zombies. We got DLC 5 for BO4 possibly coming. We got custom zombies still. We got the hype for the next Zombies game. So I guess technically, yeah, we probably would be fine with a gap year, certain years. But like back then, 2 years in between Treyarch games, the community would be kind of rough between those times. And I think these games definitely helped to kind of give it some air at least. I mean, there was people covering these games, and there was a lot of YouTubers that didn't want to cover these games, but that was good because then there's a lot of smaller YouTubers that were covering it, and smaller YouTubers were getting more traction. And that actually helped out a lot of guys. So I really appreciate Infinite Warfare, World War II, and Advanced Warfare for doing zombies because it allowed for smaller YouTubers to catch up with the bigger guys, and a lot of people grew off of these games, which was interesting. But I just don't know why he's acting like it's some huge issue. If you really get burnt out that easily, just play less of it, or just don't play the new zombies. I don't know. You don't have to ruin it for the rest of us and tell us to shut up and we can't have our fun with our other zombie maps because I don't know. If it takes away from budget, I guess you shouldn't do too much. But if it doesn't and it's just what they want to do with their game, let them. And it's not like they're being forced to. Again, Lee Ross really wanted to do Infinite Warfare. He loved zombies. He was so passionate about it. That was one of the most passionate guys in the entire Call of Duty community about zombies. Whether or not Activision came up and said you have to do zombies, I'm sure he was like, okay, cool, I want to do that. I'm sure he was happy about it.
Infinity Ward was back with another Zombies remake. This time, Infinite
Remake.
Warfare.
All right.
Be given 5
Unfortunately,
Warfare zombie storyline.
Is 5 maps really that much though?
But
Okay, I agree with that though. As the maps went on in Infinite Warfare, I do think they got considerably worse as they went on, in my opinion, and in overall how community felt about them. But when you got to Beast from Beyond, actually, once they found that super Easter egg, holy shit, were people in love with this game mode all of a sudden. I mean, it went from being like Attack of the Radioactive thing, they were like, this is trash. And at Beast from Beyond, we got this super Easter egg, everyone's like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then 2 years later, or 3 years later, whatever, people are saying that IW Zombies wasn't that bad. Tons of people are sticking up for it now. They're like, that was actually really, really good. And I agree, because I think it was really good.
In the spring of that year's cycle, something weird happened. We got Zombies Chronicles, an entire Zombies DLC. So, were we tired of zombies?
We did.
Well, this actually confirmed that was maybe, partially at least, not the case.
He just contradicted himself. You were just saying this whole video, you said it like 5 times, that people are getting tired of zombies and that's why it's not good. And then this happens and then you're like, oh, actually, you know what? Maybe we weren't tired of zombies. Well, yeah, my point exactly. You guys clearly weren't tired of it. You just didn't want to accept anything new because people can't accept new things. My socks kind of smell a little bit. People can't accept the new things, which drives me nuts. It's like, bro, you gotta let go of the past and enjoy new things. And then, it pissed me off too. They can't accept new things, but then when we get old things coming back, they call it reusing content and not having enough ideas and recycled. They call Black Ops 4 recycled Ops 4. They're like, this game's recycled, too much content recycled. And then we get new stuff like Chaos. That Chaos crew is gross. Bro, what do you want from this game, dude? I don't know. You want some Avengers Endgame like staff wielding guys out in public, like superheroes and shit? I don't know, man. The expectations for this is just weird. Well, there are remasters, but yeah.
Store of 2017. So clearly, the Zombies community was not dead.
Yep, exactly.
Sick of all the non-Treyarch stuff. But moving on,
which
from
is
here,
kind of biased of them, right?
6th year in a row, we got a new game mode: World War II Zombies.
4th year in a row, not 6th. Ghost wasn't zombies. Dude, World War II was hype. I really liked the first map. The rest of it I wasn't really crazy about.
I don't need to keep repeating myself, but as you may have guessed, this non-Treyarch game mode was another flop. Actually,
I don't see. I'm starting to realize something here. Is it really necessary to call a game a flop? Like, does it? If it's a flop in terms of community hype and retention throughout the YouTube community, mind you, does that dictate how good the game is now? Like, is that how we're dictating whether or not a game is good based on how many people who like play it? Like, whatever happened to just, I don't know, just playing the games you want to play and the games you enjoy, instead of being like, oh, it didn't do that well on YouTube, so it was a flop. Like, really? Is that necessary? I don't know if that's how it should work or how it should be, because he's considering every non-Treyarch game, non-ethered game, basically, a flop, right? And I'm sitting here like, well, yeah, they didn't have much community retention, but there's still tons of people who love them, still tons of people who play the hell of them, still tons of people who were really into it. It still made tons of money. These games still broke records. So the map packs did too. I don't know. Let's keep going.
By far the biggest flop for any side game mode yet.
Well, yeah, it did have a lot of hype
Just
behind
seemed
it.
Like no studio could hit the nail
But
on the head quite like Treyarch. Now quickly, before we get into Black Ops 4, I do need to do a recap of all this. So in summary, Treyarch Zombies was built slowly, methodically, and originated out of passion. The gameplay and characters evolved with us. New perks and weapons were slowly added in and evolved over the years.
well, because they had more
Character
time.
development and storyline was not thrown
You
in
can't
our
compare it
faces,
to
but
Infinite
was
Warfare,
left to
which only
kindle
had
and
5
burn
maps.
for our theories to
Compare
discover.
Infinite Warfare to the first 5 maps of Call of Duty. We had like nothing. Up to Kino, there wasn't really much, but
even
no.
the difficulty of acquiring wonder weapons advanced with the one kick-ass storyline and again a whole lot of passion. See, it was not something that could simply
We were
be
all very
produced.
passionate. Cameron
Treyarch
Dayton,
Zombies just
very
had
passionate.
X factor,
Trust
and
me, they
nothing
are.
could match it. And so here we are at Black Ops
Craig
4.
Houston,
The
still
reason I wanted
passionate.
to go through
Jason
all of this
Blundell.
was to highlight how not to make a zombies game and to convey that this is exactly what they did with Black Ops 4. And
Just
as
make
quick
make
side
what
note
I
for all the
want,
people
and that's
sitting
how
there
you make a
thinking,
zombies
like,
game.
hey,
That's basically
I
what
really
he's
love
saying.
some of
Like,
the non-Treyarch zombies maps. That's actually totally fine. So did I.
no, I
to be
know he's
completely honest.
yeah,
My
that
point
is fine.
just that
Obviously,
every Treyarch Zombies map game was monumentally larger and more popular as a whole.
but just because it's bigger doesn't mean you can't still enjoy the previous things and just you can't just say, okay, this isn't as good as Treyarch, so just get rid of it. That's basically what he's saying. Anything not better than Treyarch, get rid of it. Go, bye-bye. That's what he's saying. And I don't understand that sentiment. I don't understand why you can't have things that aren't as good. Like, that's like saying DC, not as good as Marvel. So just get rid of all their movies. Why? Like, what? The Thor movies, yeah, they're not as good as Iron Man, so just get rid of the Thor ones. Well, why? You know, you can have things that go toe to toe with other things, not be as good as other things, but still have their own purpose, still have their own, thing. They give us something to do in between the waiting times for Treyarch. That's what I loved about them. They still gave me something to be excited for, gave me something to look out for. And I wasn't burnt out. I played a reasonable amount. I wasn't burnt out. I know you might be. That's fine, but don't blame it on the game.
There were some diamonds in the rough, but ladies and gentlemen, now I want to talk
Here
about
we go.
the grand
Here we go.
failure that is the Black
Grand
Ops
failure.
4
I still don't agree. I mean, revenue-wise, it made a lot. Community-wise, I mean, Tiger Toten just got like 500,000 views, not concurrent, but like 500,000 total views on like Noah J's recent live stream on Tiger Toten. So, is that really a flop or a failure? I don't know.
Failure can be broken down into 3 main issues.
3 major
Bad
issues:
gameplay,
bad gameplay, bad
and
storyline,
not enough love from
love
Activision.
from
First,
Activision. Okay, so he says bad gameplay, bad storyline. I disagree with both of those. I think the gameplay was fine. I think the storyline was amazing, and then not enough love from Activision. Actually, I agree with that. That's the only thing I agree with. But that's his opinion though. So this is when he's starting to bring his opinion, and I
let's
guess
talk gameplay.
Gameplay.
Gameplay is the first thing any player will experience.
Gameplay,
with
first
a game.
thing,
And
of
because
course,
this,
yes.
It's the most important.
Most
It doesn't
important.
matter
I
if
agree.
The story is good if the game isn't fun. And
I do agree with that.
For the first time ever, Treyarch released a set of 4 zombies maps, which all felt subpar.
I mean, 9 is considered one of the best maps of all time by most people, and by me personally. Voyage and Blood are hated by the community, but I don't mind either of them at all. I think they're actually really well crafted. Classified, I don't love because it's kind of simple, but the majority of the community absolutely loves it. It's definitely a step up from 5, so I don't know if I agree with that, but yeah.
It felt like a step backwards. I'm not even saying that Black Ops 4 felt like a clone of Black Ops 3. This game actually felt like it was a step down from its predecessor. Black Ops 4 graphics
In his
were
opinion.
inferior. The lighting, setting, and
Graphics are not objectively inferior. You might feel that way personally, but you can't convince me that the graphics are inferior. I never understood that. The art style is different. They have a completely different art style, but when you look at the textures and the detail, they're relatively similar. They're built on the same engine. They just had a different art style because I guess that's what they were going for. I don't know. And it looks pretty good. The HUD, it does kind of ruin some of that, look in my eyes, but the lighting is actually really good, I think, personally. I think it's got very good lighting. So I don't know. I mean, I looked around the maps because I really wanted to see what people were talking about when they said graphics suck. I mean, I got a 4K TV and I'm just looking around like, or a 4K monitor, but looking around like, what are people talking about? Like, yeah, obviously, if you go into prone and stare into a corner, it's gonna look a little pixely. But that's with any COD game. Just when you're just standing up, just looking at around, it looks beautiful. So I don't think I agree with the whole downgraded thing, but if you don't like the art style, I mean, the art style is a little more cartoonish than Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 is a little more real and crisp. This is a little more cartoony, but it's not objectively worse, is what I'm trying to say.
Overall quality in most cases felt no better, if not worse, than Black Ops 3. But still, though, I mean, the community could in itself. Things, again, felt worse or no better than Black Ops 3. At times, the game felt clunky and far from smooth.
Really? I never felt like it wasn't clunky. This game is just as smooth as Black Ops 3 is. It never was clunky in my eyes. I don't agree with that.
But most importantly and vitally was that the core gameplay had been stripped and replaced with a hollow version of what it once was. Juggernog, the most iconic
Yeah, they
perk
changed
in
the
Zombies
systems,
history,
but
was removed. and
they
replaced with
didn't
an
do it
armor
for no
system.
reason,
This meant
though.
you automatically spawn in with basically Jug, but you could never buy a perk to increase it from there. Perks like Speed Cola.
Because they did this because they didn't want the crutchness of Jug. Jug was clearly a crutch perk. It's no denying it's a crutch perk. It is a perk you will run every single game, no matter what, unless you have some challenge in mind and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do some challenge. So it kind of made it so you only really had 3 perk slots, really. And if you were playing solo, you were likely going to get quick revive. And you were likely going to get double tap as well. But double tap wasn't like a guaranteed one. It was just like, you're most likely going to get it. But Jug was like, you're going to get it. And they didn't want that. They knew that was going to just cause people to just, it would make the gameplay boring. And I really appreciate them for trying a different system. I do think they still need to balance the perks a little bit better because I still use some of the same perks every game. But that's just because I like using the best ones. But none of them are really necessary, though. I can strip them out and still do just fine. But Jug, you're being put at a massive disadvantage without it. I was glad it took it away. I do think that it takes away from that sort of goal in the game where you're like, okay, I got to get Jug. I can get more health. But do we really need that goal, though? You have other goals now. You got Pack-a-Punch weapons, get your other 4 perks, do the Easter eggs, get wonder weapons, whatever it may be. There still is other goals other than getting Jug. Does it really need to be a goal? And I think if Jug was going to be in the game, I would want it to be its own separate thing just to keep the machine in. I understand why people want the machine there because, yeah, it's an iconic machine, but is it really necessary? I don't know. It definitely helped the gameplay in my eyes. Did it help the feel, though? No. It just kind of took away from the classic feel, but gameplay, it made it better. Speed Cola, he mentioned, got taken away. Same thing. You're going to run that most games anyways, but they literally put Speed Cola in the game regardless. If you get all 4 perks, you have Speed Cola. So it's basically a free perk if you get all your 4 perks. That's basically what it is. Double Tap, they built that into the Pack-a-Punch system. It could work a little bit better, but still, it's fair because you're going to get Double Tap every game no matter what for perks. So you might as well build it into a different system rather than being a crutch perk.
Double tap, headshot, and some other.
Okay, first of all, he called it headshot. Second of all, what are you talking? Deadshot's in the game. It's literally in the game. But okay.
Other fan favorites were removed as well. Perks that managed to stay in the game, like.
What other fan favorites were removed? I think he named all of them. I don't think any other. I mean, Widow's Wine was changed to Winter's Wail, but it's still the same idea. No, PhD Flopper is PhD Slide. They're all there. They're just a little bit different.
Stamina, Mule Kick, Electric Cherry, and
Stamina,
Quick
Mule
Revive
Kick, level.
had been weirdly altered. Quick Revive, most notably,
They're still
now
pretty much
only
the
res
same.
teammates faster, but in solo, you would simply auto spawn with 3 revives, as compared to the traditional system.
That's a good thing, though. He's just naming things that are different. Why is that a bad thing? Now you don't have to be forced to get Quick Revive every game in solo. You can actually choose different things, and you get those self revives. The self revive system, I think, is the best thing Black Ops 4 did. to be completely honest. It really makes it better. And I want them to keep doing that every game forward, to be honest. Like, look at the 4 perks he's using. Like, my point exactly. What other perks are you going to use in that? Those are really the only perks you need. Like, Widow's Wine, I guess you can trade with, like, Speed Cola, maybe Stamina up, but those other 3, why else would you run any others, you know?
Them of needing to purchase the perk every time you down. But furthermore, the perks that were added in to take place of our old favorites like Bandolier Bandit and Death
Bandolier
Perception
Bandit,
simply
Deception.
felt uninteresting and useless. Perks no longer felt
okay, you pick the 2 perks out of like the 10 perks that they added. You picked the 2 worst ones. What a way to get your point across, dude. You forgot about some of the best ones. Time Slip, Dying Wish, Winter's Wail, which is basically Widow's Wine. The new one, Blaze Phase, Bloodwolf Bite, Zomshell. They're all really good. Ethereal Razor is insanely good for this strategy that Russian, I think is his name, something like that. One of these zombies YouTubers came up with. There's so many other perks. He just named the 2 worst ones that you could think of, and he just forgets about the other ones, which are all really good. He just hasn't played enough Black Ops 4 to understand a lot of the game, I think, personally. He's literally played probably like 8 hours total. I wouldn't be surprised.
Crucial and
I'm gonna be honest with you.
but rather just a slight increase from your kit. Also, remember the specialist type weapons you used to be able to hunt for in Black Ops 3? Talking the Apothicon Sword.
Yeah, I know what he's gonna say. He's gonna complain how you spawn with them.
The baby dragon on your arm from Gorod Krovi that would just kill everything?
Why is he emphasizing that?
in with now. And this is a general critique that I think you see a lot of with Black Ops 4. Progression from nothing to everything was severely diminished. It just felt completely foreign to what Treyarch Zombies was all about.
Okay, I need to talk about this because this is important, I think. I actually agree with what he's saying here. I kind of do a little bit. But what I don't agree with is him being angry at change when we know things can't stay the same forever. If you just keep that cookie cutter gameplay forever, it'll get stale eventually. That's why I'm glad that these have these different games, changing features here and there, making things different. Like, he's mad at them for doing different things, but then he's mad at these other companies for doing cookie cutter gameplay styles. I don't know, man. He's saying he likes it better when you spawn in with nothing and then you work your way towards up in the game. But a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people were complaining. I saw JC Backfire specifically asking he wanted some sort of a create a class system added into Zombies, and he was glad they did it in World War II. And I was always like, I really don't want a create a class system. I think Zombies should stay in that sort of a way that you start with nothing but a Colt and 2 grenades and you have to work your way up. But there should be game modes and stuff like that where you could just have more stuff with you at spawn, so it's more fun and more if you want to just hop back in the action. Because video games, some people just don't have time to sit around for hours upon hours and doing stuff. So Black Ops 4 really allows you to just hop into a map and kind of just get right to it. I mean, honestly, I can hop into 9 for like 20 minutes and get to round 30 and just have a great time. Maybe not around 30, but like 30 minutes to get to around like 25 or something like that. Like, I can do that pretty quick without even trying to get it that quick. It's just because there's how the map's set up, how all the weapons they give you and stuff like that. And I don't mind that because it allows for you to do some fun things. You still got to level up your specialist weapon. There's still something that you have to level up, and it kind of works into the gameplay pretty well. You have to balance the timer, the recharge. You'd be like, okay, when's this recharge going to be finished? Because I need to save that for maybe when I get stuck in this bad situation. It's not like it makes the game that much easier because they built in a lot more harder aspects of the game. Like, the zombies hit way faster in this game than they do in any other Zombies game. There's way more boss zombies. There's way more problems that you have to come across. A lot more doors, a lot more expensive stuff. So the gameplay works around all the stuff they spawn you in with. They didn't just add all that in for no reason. You know what I mean? It's not like if you added in stuff like that in like World at War, then yeah, it would be significantly easier. Imagine having a specialist weapon like that at spawn in like Kino or something. Okay, that would be crazy. But it's not Kino. This is different. This is a new game with new mechanics. The zombies hit differently. The zombies work differently. The AI is different. And he's just sitting here not accepting new things. He just wants it to be how it was, but just still to give us new maps. He basically just wants a game like Black Ops 3 to just stay like that and then just keep adding maps to it. Which I guess, sure, but they don't want to do the same game every year. That'll get boring for them, even. And yeah, you might be like, oh, then why'd they remake a bunch of things? The remakes were for the community and for the story. They knew it would connect better to the story to go back to those locations, and they knew the community would be more excited for remakes than they were for something completely new. And clearly they weren't, which I'm concerned about, because literally a year ago, people were like, oh my god, I need Mob of the Dead remastered! And then it comes out, and then people are like, well, a remake of it, and they're like, this is shit. I wanted something new. Like, well, okay, then don't ask for it if you want something new. I mean, clear as day.
Someone else had made it. Oh, no. Wait. This feels familiar, like something else. But at the end of the day, what Treyarch had tried to do to improve gameplay clearly failed. Now, there was obviously an attempt made.
I mean, I don't think it did, personally.
Not work. Minding my example here, it felt like they tried to improve zombies like how you would renovate a kitchen. Seriously, it was not even in the same multiverse. What? Players were dumped into a new storyline with very little context of what was going on or reason to care. The characters were...
Wait. They wanted to do something new. You were complaining about no passion, but this is what they wanted. They wanted to tell this story because Jason Blundell, he likes the ether. He does. But that isn't his baby. He didn't start with it. Neither did Craig Houston. That's not their baby, you know? That's why they did the whole Origins thing, because they wanted to turn it into their story rather than just be building off of what Jimmy Zielinski did. But they wanted to tell something that they started with from scratch and tell that. And they also wanted to give the fans the ether because they knew fans would want that. That's what they were trying to do with this game. So you're yelling at them for doing something new when you were also yelling at them for not being passionate and really wanting to do anything and just instead doing it for money, which clearly they didn't do Chaos for money because clearly this wouldn't benefit them in any revenue whatsoever because it's something completely new. Usually they like to do things that are familiar because that's what's going to make more money is what's more familiar. That's why they're doing a Modern Warfare reboot. So,
weren't as fun, and we obviously couldn't love them like we loved those we had been with for so long.
So you just want every map to be Primus and Ultimus. Every single map. Never change. Because no other crew can be better than them. Of course not. Because we grew up with them. So we can't do anything different. No Victus. No Chaos. Nothing else. No. We need Primus and Ultimus. Even when the voice actors die in like 50 years. No. Still need them. We cannot change it. Is that what he's trying to say? What kind of crackhead shit is that, man? I don't know.
Oh, no. We've done this before. Blood of the Dead was that it wasn't made clear to be the main storyline for the game, so it really only further confused the community. Are we supposed to care more about Blood or this new Chaos crew?
Why not both? You don't have to choose. You can pick. You can... This sentiment freaks me out. This ideal that people have that you have to pick a side. It happens with politics. You have to pick a side. It happens with DC versus Marvel. You have to pick a side. It happens with Trek versus Infinity War. You have to pick a side. It happens with everything. You don't... Sorry, Mike. You don't have to pick a side. You can like both. You can enjoy both. You can be a fan of both. Yes, at the end of the day, you can say... I like Ether more than Chaos, or I like Chaos more than Ether, or I'm more of a conservative than a liberal, or I like Marvel more than DC, but I can still go see the Joker. I can still believe some liberal ideals. I can still go play the Ether maps even though I like Chaos more, or if I like Ether more, I can still go play the Chaos maps. I don't have to choose which one to care about. Why can't you just care about both? And if you can't find a way to care about Chaos, then just don't care and move on with your life. Don't go around saying the storyline's shit just because you're not personally interested in it. Your interest doesn't equal how shit or good something is. That's just not how it works. Not how it works.
The problem is that this was the story we were actually interested to hear more of. It's actually funny because this is similar to what happened at the start of Black Ops 2, if you recall. There were new, less interesting storylines introduced, which saw less traction than the previous storylines. The problem here was that the storyline wasn't even in our mind.
Oh my god, the hypocrite. The hypocrite. Pat, I love you, man, but like that was the most hypocritical thing you've ever said. The whole video, previously, you were saying they just sit there, they're in a shareholder room, and they talk about what they need to do that'll get more profits. What will get more profits is what the community is more engaged in. That's exactly the same thing. Whatever is going to get more revenue is what the community likes more, because what the community likes more means that we're going to buy it more. It means we're going to put more money into it because they like it more, right? But you're pissed at Black Ops 2 for adding a whole new crew in, when clearly what would be more interesting and what would get people to actually buy it would be the ether, right? Doesn't that make sense? So you're pissed about them trying to do different things with Chaos, trying to do different things with Victus, and you're saying how it's not going to bring as much community retention. Well, yeah, it's not, but they're just still they're passionate about it. Not everything has to be about money. You said not everything has to be about money. It should be about passion. Well, there's the proof that it still is, buddy. There's the proof that it still freaking is.
Unlike Black Ops 2, which at least all took place in the same one, but just different timelines. See,
I mean, they want to do something new. I mean, they want to end Ether. That's what they want to do.
Dropping 4 maps at the exact same time completely split the community and only managed to confuse the fan base.
I don't think that was the problem. I think it was more of a budget issue. Like, they probably would have been better off just releasing Voyage, Blood, and Classified, and then keeping 9 for... But 9 was such an easy map, so I maybe disagree with that. Maybe keeping Classified, instead of it being a separate map, maybe release it like for DLC 1, kind of, and then Dead of the Night, and then, you know, they've released them closer together, so we have like 5 DLC packs, or 5 DLC maps. Maybe that would have worked a little bit better, but that wasn't the issue at launch. It was actually pretty fine in how it worked. It actually lasted like a good month and a half of the community searching for Easter eggs in this game, continuously doing streams of it. It lasted a while. I think the biggest issue was, of course, the blue screens. That's what caused people to be turned off by the game, is the fact that the game kept blue screening. I don't think it was the fact that we had a lot of maps. We had a lot of stuff to do, and that actually increased the amount of time people were spending on this game. So I think that was a good thing, and it was awesome. I mean, this is the most maps we've ever gotten at launch, so.
But the last thing that killed not only the launch, but basically the entire game was just the lack of support from Activision.
I don't think it killed it.
I honestly
hurt it a little bit.
It feels like such a cop-out to sit here and be like, oh, big greedy company, yeah. But it is most definitely your fault when I say that Black Ops 4 was done incredibly dirty. On launch day, Zombies wasn't even finished. Games would crash at rounds 20, 15, and sometimes even round 5, making it near...
I don't even know if the developers knew that was going to happen, though. I think if they knew there was going to be blue screen issues, I'm pretty sure they would have worked out a deal with Activision to delay Zombies by like a month, but still release Black Ops 4, of course, at launch, because they weren't going to just say, oh, let's delay the whole game. Delaying a game hurts numbers pretty significantly, actually, especially at that point, so I don't think they would have delayed the game at all. I think if they knew there was going to be blue screen issues, I think they would have delayed it by like a month. But I just think they didn't know about that was going to happen. And then once it came around and then it started happening, they can't just say, okay, let's just remove all the maps and fix the problems. No, but they were working actively to fix the problems, and I appreciate that. I do think Activision's lack of budgetary support in them, specifically post-launch, I think was a problem. They gave us a lot of post-launch content, more than we ever got before, because usually it's just, 4 zombie maps post-launch, that's it. This year it was 4 zombie maps, plus 4 more perks, plus 4 gauntlets. So, I mean, or I guess more gauntlets, because they added 8 gauntlets, right? It's more content than we usually get, so I don't... And plus, DLC guns, I guess, that... It's also new.
Even get into the fact that Classified, the Easter egg for that involved getting to past round.
I don't like that Easter egg. I made that clear. I think that's the stupidest Easter egg of all time. But
overall, just from a developmental standpoint, this game was not ready to launch in October.
Yeah, but I don't think they knew that though.
Screwed over your fans and player base when you chose to release it.
But you can't just forget about the whole game.
The game was an absolute mess.
But you have to realize they had that October 12th release date ready since like March. There's no way in March they were sitting there like, oh, this game's not going to be ready in October. They didn't know that. They had no idea it wasn't going to be ready. They might have noticed blue screens probably once it came out, you know? And it's just unfortunate that it had to happen. I guess the engine wasn't good enough. I guess the coders just weren't clear enough on what they needed to do. But did it kill the game? No, it really didn't. It's still, we adapted to it. We said, okay, we're going to give it some time and wait. If they delayed the game till November, would that have made that much of a difference in terms of how the community feels about this game? Maybe a little bit. But would it make a difference about how we're playing the game? Not really, because you can just wait till November anyways. And the maps are there, and they were pretty much fixed around November. I didn't have any blue screening. Personally, I never had any problems with that. Not once have I ever blue screened. Well, I play on Xbox, so I guess that's why. But you don't blue screen on Xbox; it just crashes on Xbox. I never experienced crashes other than when messing around in custom mutations. And I've been to some pretty high rounds as well as doing the Easter egg quests. So I don't know. I just never experienced it. But I know people did. But I know a lot of them were fixed around December, November time. And then obviously when new maps come out, new problems arise. But in terms of maps themselves, they were still pretty well balanced. I mean, you're acting like this is something new also. Remember, he didn't mention Revelations. That's what pisses me off, though, that he doesn't mention any of the negatives of the older games. He just goes through, mentions the positives of every game he liked, and then all the games he didn't like, he mentions the negatives. Doesn't mention the positives. No, the positives are out the window when it comes to the games he didn't like, right? Don't even mention them. But when it comes to the games he likes, let's just mention the positives, forgetting about any of the negatives that we clearly know have to do with these games. That's the major problem I'm having with this video so far, is how biased it is against certain zombies modes, as well as him just being wrong about a few things here and there, right? But those are like little mistakes I can get over. And then of course the kind of hypocritical statements he's made that go against what he said previously is kind of what I'm trying to say.
From the start, like what we were given, especially when you realize that 9, despite still being great, had way more potential. Literally just place 9 into Black Ops 3 and you've got a map that fits in the top 10 of all time. But what's even worse is things only continued on this trend as zombies
mechanics were fine. You can't just forget about the game, it's the map itself, because you don't like the mechanics. Like, yeah, let's just throw all the good things about the map off the table because I don't like how the perk system is in this game. Like, what?
Over the weeks and months to follow, it was clear that Zombies was going to get very little support over its life.
But it did it though. It got a decent amount.
Absolutely insane. Fucking crazy. Despite all of this, the Black Ops 4 launch was a huge success. Multiple of my YouTubers have
so why are you calling it a flop?
Their most successful months for views in their entire careers. The problem was not lack of interest. The problem was, however, that as soon as the Easter eggs were finished and the storyline was resolved up into that point, everything took a nosedive, which is something we've never seen before.
No, we usually see that. I remember, for the most part, when it comes to most maps at least, when they solve the Easter egg, they kind of continue a couple days after trying to solve little Easter eggs here and there, being like, oh, we'll look around, see what's good. Still playing it, still doing fun little challenges on it. It still exists. The maps always exist. Hell, even Spaceland, Challenge Shuffle. I was playing Challenge Shuffle the other freaking day, even though that map has been out for a long time. You can always go back to the maps. Community retention on the maps usually went off a week or two after the Easter eggs were solved. That's usually how it always has been. Yeah, back in the day, it was more like, oh, we don't have that many maps to play anyways, so this is all we got. But now we have so many maps to play, so many things to compare to. We have custom zombies. When you have so much more content, there obviously is going to be less retention for the new things because there's still so many other things you can go back to. There's custom zombies, which has tons of new maps coming out on the daily. I mean, yeah, so obviously we're going to get less retention pretty quickly, a week or two after these Easter eggs. That's how it's always been. The maps still exist. I still play them all the time. I still play Alpha Omega to this day. It's been out for 2 months. But
Dead of Night and Ancient Evil, which I'm not even really going to get into, both received very little recognition or praise from the community. To make a long story short...
No. Ancient Evil was loved, man. They even had all the zombies YouTubers go out for that map. I remember how much people were talking about how the Chaos story was finally interesting. They were like, this is awesome. Ancient Evil was insanely well received by the community, so Pat, you just weren't there, man. You just weren't there. I'm sorry, you were too busy playing Fortnite and making Fortnite videos, and it's completely fine for you, man. But like, you just weren't there. Where are you getting this information from? Mr. Lexify? Did he tell you this? Like, bro, I don't know, man.
Storyline flops, and it ended with DLC 2. But you know what is again fucking insane? Black Ops 4 Zombies rebounded. Drag was completed. Views and interest shriveled up. And
that's what Zombies usually is, though. This isn't new to Zombies. Zombies is less of a long-lasting sort of a multiplayer type game. More so, it's like an experience, like a campaign, for example. When a new campaign comes out for Call of Duty, you play it, like once it comes out, everyone's all, this is crazy, this is amazing. And then after that, once you're done, it's like, all right, yeah, I'm done now. I mean, you still have that awesome memory of that map in your mind, but it's kind of done now. And you could still go back and play it, have a good time. You can try doing high rounds, speed running. That's why I love Zombies so much, because it feels like campaign and multiplayer smushed into one. But not everyone gets that same multiplayer experience out of it. They kind of just care about the story and the gameplay and the first-hand experience rather than the long-term gameplay in terms of high rounds, maybe Easter egg speedruns, maybe just challenges or just playing for fun because you just want to enjoy it. There's all those different things. But the experience is what people care about the most. The first-hand experience of you completing the Easter egg, getting the storyline quotes for the first time, watching everyone try to discover it. It's like an event. Every time a map comes out, it's like an event. You have like 5 or 6 of these events per year. And they're awesome events. I love the new relaunches of Zombies maps. They're the most exciting times of the year. Some of the most exciting times of the year for me. Just hopping on, seeing Rad Austin, Noah J, Mr. Dolly, all these people trying to solve this Easter egg and seeing all these storyline hints and stuff like that. That's a good time to me. It's an event. You're pissed off that after that event is finished, they stop caring. Well, yeah, because the event is over. It's like when, I don't know, some event is happening, like, let's say a Fortnite event, right? Because you love Fortnite so much, this still makes sense. A new Fortnite event comes out, right? And it lasts 5 days. People are really excited for it. And then when it comes, they're like, oh my god, the event's here. They play it for 5 days, the event's over, and then they forget about it. Well, they don't forget about it, they just stop playing because the event's over. Well, yeah, that's what the Zombies maps are, basically. They are experience events. But the difference between any other Fortnite event is that you can have the option to continue to play it even after the event's over. It's just you might not be as interested in it because it was more exciting during the event. And I think he needs to realize that. That's what Zombies is, and that's what it's been since, like, I'd say, like, Mob of the Dead. It's been like that. Before that, it was just more just the gameplay, and there wasn't really that experience of solving an Easter egg. They had Easter eggs before that, but they weren't, like, something we all hopped on to go find the same day, the launch day. That wasn't really a thing. Actually, I don't remember really having community Easter egg hunts even during Mob of the Dead. I think it started, like, around Origins, maybe EXO Zombies, kind of, but yeah.
this was flat out because Alpha Omega was a lazy map with a lot of the same issues we saw on launch day.
Lazy map? What? Okay, I know why he's gonna say that, because it's taken straight from Blackout. Well, first of all, leaks prove that actually this map, they took the development of this map and put this into Blackout. So technically they made Alpha Omega before anyways. Nuketown, the original Zombies, was only like 10% of this map, so 90% of the areas are completely new. Even the Blackout version is still really different, though. If you go in the Blackout version, it's not even close to the same as this map is. Like, the layout is completely different of the houses, of the underground. They're all completely different layout. Not even like close to the same. So, even if it was a copy and paste, it clearly isn't, because, they changed it around a lot when they took the development of this and put it into Blackout. They changed around the layout of the bottom and the top pretty profusely to make it fit Blackout more, sort of a deal. But how is it lazy? They had so much lore and storyline put in this map. It was incredible. You had these awesome Wonder Weapon variants of the Ray Gun Mark II. You had one of the coolest boss fights ever. Some of the best soundtracks from any Zombies map ever. I don't know. I don't see it as lazy.
The community was willing to give it a chance because it was Treyarch and because it was our normal crew, but they just quickly realized that
so much storyline quotes too.
Of poo-poo. The map was a Nuketown Zombies remake that used assets from Blackout. And this is something that hadn't been done so hard since the days of World at War. I mean, it's common to take some assets, but this was literally just porting over the Blackout in...
No, it wasn't, though! Look at the Blackout version of it. Please walk through it yourself. It's not even close to the same. The amount of detail they put into this map, so different. Even the layout's different. Oh my god, it's not even close to the same. It drives me nuts when people say that.
This new game, but it got even worse than that. There were no new wonder weapons, but instead Elemental Raygun Mark II.
Okay, not elemental, they were variants. They weren't elements. There wasn't an ice, there wasn't a wind, there wasn't a lightning. They were completely different. But why is that so lazy? Like, people, it's nostalgic to them, the ray gun, and then there are different variants of them that do different things. They play differently. We've never seen weapons like this before.
And the intro and outro cutscenes weren't even animated compared to Treyarch's last.
Because they couldn't have done CGI of everything that was in this cutscene. The amount of stuff in this cutscene just wouldn't be possible for their normal CGI. Showing the image of the Great War, they could not have done that in CGI without it looking like trash. Because they just don't have the time or the budget for that type of shit. And I don't blame them, dude. They got COD 2020 to work on. You're forgetting about that. I love that image of Sam.
And there we were, staring into the release of Tag der Toten, the final Zombies map for a storyline that goes back more than 10 years for some of us. As the final map to this story, this had fans emotionally invested, which again says a lot about how much this community cares. For myself, I had stopped caring a long time ago, but
yeah, we know. That's why I don't really take your opinions that seriously on this video.
Wanted to give my old favorite game mode a chance. Which,
yeah, but you played it like twice, I think.
Says a lot about this community. Not only had it been dicked over for an entire year by Black Ops 4, it had been 3 years since they saw a true new Zombies map. But no matter how many garbage maps that they had waded through, no matter how many boring storylines or uninteresting characters, the community was back. They rallied and came out for one final hoorah to say goodbye to the end of an era. And oh my sweet lord, once again, we were fooled. Because Tag der Toten, for the who knows and who is counting at this point in time, was a gigantic flop.
Okay. Yeah, so we gotta get to the zip line.
But it wasn't. Okay, that was just hilarious though. Like, you can't even be mad and call the map shit because of a glitch like that. That's a funny glitch. We've had glitches in Zetsubo no Shima like crazy. Revelations had a crazy amount of glitches. They're funny. I'm sorry. Like,
this marked the 5th
a remake
since the last original Zombies Ether map, which was Gorod Krovi.
Okay, let's just forget about Chaos, right? Yeah, because it made sense. It made sense to go back to location. Where would you want the location to be, Pat? Tell me right now. Tell me right now. It has to make sense story-wise, because you can't just throw in a map that makes no sense. Like, we can't just be like, let's go to freaking Atlantis. Well, why the fuck would we go to Atlantis? That would be a cool location, but why the hell would we go there? I understand. You're the type of person who doesn't care about story. You just want gameplay. Then maybe this game isn't for you. Maybe you should go play Custom Zombies. But story is a pretty important factor in these maps. It really, truly is. They're not going to go to a random location. What made sense is Call of the Dead. That is where it all basically started, even though it didn't. Well, obviously, we didn't start there. Obviously, Nocta wasn't, Call of the Dead wasn't the first map. But I mean, it's all started there because the story kind of all started there. I mean, unless you count the Keepers and the Great War is where it started, because the Keepers Rusty Poppkins, that's technically where it started. But where that one universe started, right? That's where Richtofen kept the Tusk subjects. That's where the 115 landed. That's so much story behind this location that it made for an awesome location. And I know you don't want to see things like that. You would rather see something completely new, but we already had 4 completely new maps in this game, and you dissed all of them because they were different. So, piss off. Really.
All the way back on July 12th of 2016.
I don't know what to tell you.
Furthermore, the map featured not our beloved Primus crew or even Ultima Screw.
I don't like that. I agree. We shouldn't have played as Victus. They should have found a way to let us play as the main character somehow. But I get why they did it.
Seriously, not even one more map with our old pals?
People
But
don't
the flaws
hate the Chaos Crew. I see a lot of bigger YouTubers loving them, actually.
go on. The map once again featured very little innovation. The Wonder Weapon was just an
You were just complaining about Black Ops 4 innovating, and now you're complaining that Black Ops 4 isn't innovating. Oh my god, okay, I can't do it. I'm done. That's no, actually I'll finish it.
lie, but
I'll
instead
finish it.
the Transit Crew. Probably the worst received Treyarch foursome.
Oh wait.
It's just a complete recycle of previous zombie maps.
Recycle.
Then,
Yeah.
to top things off,
Because they could just copy
we
paste it.
have
That's how it works.
Salt on the wound. We have the ending cutscene, which I would like to call, how do we wrap this shit up as fast and as easy as possible while somehow managing to make a semblance of a proper end? So first and foremost,
Pat.
again, it's a slideshow ending.
Pat.
The ending to the entire
Pat, I'm sorry. I can't take someone's opinion seriously who doesn't know anything about the story. I'm pretty sure you don't, because you always say that you don't care. You just want to play for gameplay. You just kind of want to see what's happening. You're kind of like in the general, you're like in the casual storyline community. And I did see your tweets about not liking the ending, thinking it was stupid, but I mean, ask any story guy. Ask Brad Austin, ask Johnny J. They said they liked it a lot. I personally liked it a lot. I thought it was perfectly done story-wise. Yeah, it was animated, but or not animated, but it's the cartoon, whatever, cutscene. But does it take away from the effectiveness of it? I mean, we read books, and people cry over books, and those are words on a piece of paper. Words on a piece of paper, and you're pissed about them not doing something like Avengers Endgame, like I don't know.
entire zombie storyline isn't even animated. But
We didn't even have outro cutscenes until Origins, so we had a couple intro cutscenes before that, but I don't know.
essentially, this is what happens. We see all our fan favorites sitting around a campfire, getting drunk, and passing out. Zombie Richtofen, which is a nice asset we use for Blackout 3, convinces the Transit Crew to go to Call of the Dead and assemble an Agarthan device. After Victus completes the task, it is then revealed to us that Primus Nikolai poisoned everyone because the only way for this to end is for them to all die. Except
Yeah, exactly.
never beat the Apothecans, he uses the Agarthan device to destroy the corrupt.
Whoa, accepting that they can never beat the Apothecans, that's wrong. They've beaten them millions of times. It's the fact that when they beat them, the cycle just continues. This is what they have to do. They have to do something different. They can't just continuously... They're badass heroes. They have no problem defeating the Apothecans. They have no problem winning the Great War. But that wouldn't stop the cycle. That would just continue it. So they need to do something different, and that's what Nikolai realized after reading the changed Granorium that Richtofen gave him in Blood of the Dead. And that's beautiful in my eyes. That you didn't have to... These badasses, the hardest thing they had to do was kill themselves. Well, I guess that's the hardest thing Nikolai had to do was kill his friends and then kill himself. Or I guess he didn't kill himself. He had let Samantha do it, but you got the idea. Accept death. That's what they couldn't do.
Shadow Man and Dr. Monty from existence, but also everything else corrupted within those realms as well. He then kills Richtofen and has Samantha shoot him. With every main character eliminated, this breaks the cycle, stopping it from ever being able to happen again. Which means
And I think
that
that's a
none of
good
the
way to end it. Better than Revelations,
happened.
because Revelations kept the cycle
Cycle has been
going.
completed, and the innocent Sam and Eddie walk off into a safe, uncorrupted.
That scene was beautiful. The music and
So,
everything, the quotes
yeah.
too.
There is definitely a lot to be disappointed with this ending. To me, it
Only thing I was
felt
disappointed in
lazy and
is some of the
unsatisfying.
budget.
Now, on
but
paper, it does sound like a classic good
It's
guy
a good
Our
ending.
heroes made a noble sacrifice to save the realms. But to me, it just didn't feel earned. But instead, it kind of felt like a cheap way out. Like, I get the message that is trying to be conveyed here, and I think it makes a lot of sense for zombies. It just wasn't executed properly. Now, perhaps, if they had...
Why? Because of budget. You know why? Because of Black Ops 2020. Honestly, we should just blame Sledgehammer and Raven, because if they didn't fuck up COD 2020, Treyarch would have had much more time to work on this, and they would have actually been able to put together something a little bit of better quality. The story would have been the same. The writing would have been the same, and the writing was perfectly fine. It was just the execution. I do agree, it wasn't the best execution in the world, but does that make it shit? No, not at all.
Expanding on things, showing us Dr. Monty, the Shadow Man, the Great War.
Okay, so the video's up. Final thoughts. I think it was a well-crafted video, really well edited, really well narrated. That was all great. He's a good YouTuber, I can't deny that. But in terms of his actual content in the video, I think he had a big issue of being biased. I understand he has to be biased to get his point across. That's what people have to do sometimes. I just hate being biased. I love to be as objective as possible, and unfortunately, his video just was consumed with bias. That's why he only focused on the negatives when it came to the games he didn't like, and he only focused on the positives to the games he did like. That was a problem in my eyes. I had a problem with a lot of the factual information he had that was false, like stating certain perks that didn't exist in the game when they clearly did, stating certain ways that the community reacted when they clearly didn't react that way, or they clearly did react a certain other way. Having over exaggerations, just opinions that I don't agree with, which is fine and all. You're able to not agree with me. Also, a lot of just hypocritical statements, saying stuff like, "Oh, I don't like the fact that they introduced this new chaos story out of nowhere," but then previously he's complaining that they're not passionate about it. They just want to do what gets more money. But chaos obviously wasn't there to get more money. It was there because they were passionate about this new story they wanted to tell, and you just weren't, interested enough to accept it, which is fine. You don't have to accept it, but you don't have to bash it either. That's kind of just how I see it. I think at the end of the day, I think I'm excited for the future of Zombies. I don't think they need to chill out at all with the content. I do think they need to change a few things around when it comes to the mechanics. I do think the perk system needs to be adjusted a little bit, not turned completely back to Black Ops 3, because I don't want to see no Jug as one of the main perks again. I want it to be its own separate thing that you purchase somehow and it goes to its own slot. Or don't want to see Quick Revive being a crutch. I want to see a combination between Black Ops 3's system and Black Ops 4's system. You need to combine them. You can't just choose one or the other. And also, I hated how in a lot of the video he was being kind of like one-sided. You just have to do one or the other. You have to pick one or the other. You only should be interested in one or the other. No, you can be interested in more than one thing. You don't have to care about just the chaos or just the ether. You can care about both and still have a good time. That's what I do. I care about most of the stuff that Zombies, COD Zombies games have done, and I've enjoyed just about every map at least a little bit. And I've been playing since World of War, so I have decent experience when it comes to it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.